Have you ever met someone who not only can help you on a deep spiritual level, but also potentially change your life? Refined Divine is an extremely gifted psychic medium who travels the nation and lives right here in the Midwest. And she offers mediumship, mentorship, house and business parties, energy healing, palm readings, and so much more. Refined Divine has helped thousands, and she can help you.
Hi, this is Psychic Medium Deb. I cannot wait to hear from you. You can go to refineddivinepsychic.com.
Greg Bakun here. I love historic tours of Minneapolis and seeing everything it has to offer. But if you know me, I like to include a little spooky in my tours, which is why I found the perfect combination. Minneapolis Trolley Tours does this amazing candlelight ghost tour that you have to check out. It's an extremely immersive experience. It's a trolley trip that starts out at a haunted mansion, traveling around Minneapolis locations, exposing ghost stories that the public and business owners would rather left untold. Then a tour of the aforementioned haunted mansion where ghosts of past residents from the 1800s reside, plus a lot of surprises to discover. Next, experience Gertrude's After Hours. Did I mention Gertrude is the mansion's most famous ghost? Maybe she'll show up. And you finish up the tour at Gertrude's Lounge in the haunted basement of the mansion with refreshments and Q&A. The trolleys are climate controlled and the mansion is restored to perfection. Check out MinneapolisTrolleyTours.com for more information.
With your AM 950 weather, I'm Patrick Lulio. A winter storm warning is in effect. Rain changes over to snow tonight with an overnight low of 26. Then Wednesday, cloudy with a high of 29. Eat Local Minnesota restaurants are perfect for any holiday gathering this winter, from friends or family to a work event. Check out the list of Eat Local Minnesota restaurants at eatlocalminnesota.com.
Portions of the following program may be pre-recorded.
The views expressed and the opinions given by the individual host, guest, random reptoid, or chupacabra may not necessarily reflect those of AM 950 Radio, its affiliates, or its sponsors. Now, it's time to step into the unknown. There are things people experience but never talk about. A shadow moving in the corner, flickering of the lights, a disembodied voice. We invite you to talk with us. Share your story, share your experience, because this isn't just your story, this is our story. This is GhostBox Radio with Greg Bakun.
And this is GhostBox Radio on AM 950, where every night we talk about the paranormal, ufology, Bigfoot, and so much more. My name is Greg Bakun. Thank you very much for joining us as we are getting closer to Thanksgiving. I do have to say, listening to Patrick before the program, talking about the weather, looking outside, at least up in St. Michael, the rain has in fact been converting to snow. Been hearing a lot of very heavy wind in my area. I don't know if you're getting heavy wind in your area at all, but getting a lot of heavy wind and quite frankly, stuff is like flying around outside. You know, we were told that we're going to get some strong winds tonight, and it certainly is. And I keep hearing stuff like hit up against the side of the house, and I'm thinking to myself, that's like a Thursday thing I need to worry about. I know it's only Tuesday, but that seems like something more down the line. You know, and I don't mind this kind of weather because I am off until Monday. I'll be doing the show live tomorrow night, but I'm not going anywhere. And, you know, I always kind of like these things where I can basically go out, get a bunch of food to kind of hold my, you know, put myself up here for the weekend and kind of do my thing and just kind of watch the snow out there and whatever else, and have other people, I don't know, shovel my snow, I guess, too, as well. So, you know, I don't really have to go out if I don't want to. And I kind of like that. I like that quite a bit. I hope everyone is doing well. Like I said, we're heading close to Thanksgiving, and tomorrow we're going to be doing what we call a casual Wednesday, since we will not be doing a show on Friday. And that's going to be all about what we're thankful for. But tonight I wanted to go a little bit different. We've talked about the subject before, to be honest, but I don't think it's something that is one that ever gets old, one that ever gets oversaid. And that really is talking about being visited by the spirits of our loved ones. And I wanted to share some stories. If you have any that you'd like to talk about, please put them into the comments as well. I'd love to hear your stories as well, because it's important. And why is it important is simply because we are we're a group of people who we really don't know what's going to happen next to us, right? We really don't know. And I get this, and I say this often, that I have people always come up to me, and people who are interested in what we do, interested in all things paranormal, spirit, stuff like that. And they don't ever ask about themselves. They never say, what's going to happen to me when I die? I never get that. What I always get is my mom okay? Is my dad okay? Is my best friend who tragically passed, whatever, are they okay? And that's always something that I find actually very beautiful, because I've never really run into anyone worried about themselves. They're always worried about the people that they love. And so it only makes sense that we have our loved ones coming to talk to us and coming to visit us. And my first time, I'm going to tell some stories, some that you've probably heard before, some that maybe you haven't. And like I said, please put some of your interesting stories into the comments. But my very first interaction with a spirit was when I was about 4 years old, and my mom's mom, my grandmother, had passed away. And she passed away at a pretty young age, actually. She was in her 60s, heavy smoker, very much part of the era, what people were at the time, right? I mean, it doesn't mean that people still don't smoke today, but the life expectancy was not always great. Her husband, my grandfather, I actually never met. He had actually passed away just before my sister was born, 4 years earlier. So because my sister is 4 years older than I am. But a couple things about my memory of my grandmother's funeral. One, apparently, is that I went up to the coffin and I was talking to her. Like I said, I was 4 years old, and I don't know what I was talking to her about. I mean, I don't remember any of that, but that's what my mom had said. My mom said that you were talking to her and having basically a conversation. I was like, well, what was I saying? She goes, you wouldn't tell us. I'm like, okay. I mean, the thing is, kids, right? I mean, small kids, I mean, all sorts of things or something more. But if it is something more, I certainly don't remember any of that. But then probably, I don't know, a week later, maybe, I don't, time for a 4-year-old has no idea. But when being in my family house and being in the living room, and all of a sudden this just waft of sweet rose smell comes into the room very strongly, very strongly. There were no roses or anything. It smelled like a funeral home, which was a smell that was very, funny. I don't know if it's funny, but oddly enough was one that I was fairly used to, because we were born into an older family. So a lot of our, people that were part of our, family were older. And so I remember a lot of funerals when I was young, but this one, being my grandmother, was very strong. And because she was fantastic. She was a fantastic woman. I mean, the fact that someone could leave such a mark on you. And I'm 51 now. And I remember being a 4-year-old, and what a wonderful person she was. It's a true testament to who she was. And so this strong waft of rose scent comes through very strong, and as soon as it comes in, it leaves. And I said to my mom, 4-year-old Greg, and I'm like, what was that? And she just looked at me and she goes, that was Grandma. And it's like, wow, okay, wow. And, I hadn't thought about it in years. Unlike a lot of my peers and folks listening to this show, my paranormal journey didn't start till, much later in my life. So I really didn't think about it. And then one day it's just kind of like, I remember this, but it was one of those things was like, did that really actually happen? Because it was so long ago and, it never really was talked about again. So, in my, I don't know if it was my late 30s, early 40s that I was sitting around at like Easter dinner or something at my parents, and I just said to them, I said, um, Mom, do you remember this? And I told the story, and she goes, Oh, absolutely, absolutely. And I'm like, So this happened? She goes, Yes, it did. And she's like, The thing is that there was a couple times because grandma would come over and stay with us, and she would stay in the basement, and the basement was finished. And so she would always sleep on the couch. And Mom said that she would come downstairs after grandma had passed, and she would see grandma laying on the couch for like just, a second. And, that was right around the same time. And it's also interesting too, if I'm not mistaken, my sister had a dream about grandma. And I know that this is probably more of just like, kids having dreams, especially when you have someone important to you passing away. But, a dream of her like waking up in her coffin, during the wake, and just, getting up and that sort of thing. I mean, this was very, this was really our first. I mean, we've been in funerals before, but oddly, this was like the really first time we had to deal with death on a level that was very personal. And you might be like, well, you said that you went to your family's funerals and stuff, but it's different when it's a close family member. When you're a 4-year-old, you're just like, you just kind of go wherever people want you to go to, and you don't really know. But the stark reality is, when being able to process at a young age that this person who you absolutely adored and loved, you're not going to see her again, and that was like the conversation that we had to have about that. And I always feel bad for my sister because my sister found her, actually. She wasn't dead, but she had a stroke. And to get downstairs, they reckon that my grandmother, basically rolled herself down the stairs. What was going on was that because, grandma was such a big part of our lives, that she would go over, that she would come stay with us, and we would do stuff with her all the time. Our other grandmas weren't like this. Grandma Kokish, though, she was very much, she was a big part of our lives. And it, at least once a week, I was in preschool, and my mom and sister would go to her house, to my grandma's house, to pick her up, and then they'd come and pick me up after preschool, and we'd go for lunch or something like that. But this time, when they went to grandma's house, my mom was like to my sister, just, can you go and go and get her? And she goes in the house and she finds her. She finds her just, laid out. She didn't, like I said, she wasn't dead yet, but, I mean, I can't imagine what that's like for an 8-year-old, that's, and especially somebody that you love so much, that, and at that age, you all know love is so pure, and it's just so innocent and pure, and very, it's as pure as it could possibly be. And it's just something that sticks with you. I'm sure it is. I also remember that after she had passed, my mom needed to sell a lot of her stuff just because, get rid of stuff, whatever. And, I wish I was 4 years old. If I was the age I am now, I would have a field day there. I mean, she was around in the 20s. There was a lot of stuff actually from the 20s I remember vividly, but I remember people waiting outside her house for my mom to get there to open up the sale that day. And I remember sitting on the stairs watching these people because, the day or so before we went out there and my mom set up little boxes for the jewelry and stuff that was grandma's. And I just remember people going in and just like fingering it all and just lifting it up to see, oh, what is this? Is this any good? Is this, it's in, even at it being a 4-year-old, I'm just thinking to myself, this is somebody's stuff. This is the life of somebody I cared about. And I just see people just handling it with no discretion whatsoever. And that was, once again, those are things that have stayed in my mind a number of times. And I don't know about you all. I mean, so my family basically came from Northeast Minneapolis, and I find myself once in a while going back out there and driving past her house and driving past other people's houses that are in the area to just see what had happened. I mean, that's a long time ago. That's a long time ago that had happened. And, it's incredible. That's the first time. Now, in the comments here, and like I said, share your experiences with us too, please, if you feel comfortable. Joanne says, my 4-year-old granddaughter talks about her past life, that her mom wore an apron and had homemade all their stuff, and she has 2 siblings. That's very interesting. It's absolutely incredible. So I mean, I don't know. It's one of those things that you just kind of are like, I don't know. It's interesting. Okay, John. John says I do the same, Greg. I bet a lot of people do. I certainly don't mean to make myself sound like that. I'm the only person on the earth that's sentimental. I certainly don't mean that, but there's quite a bit to that. And we'll talk more about this and kind of explore a little bit more. I want to get to some other stories here, but I want to get a break in first. And hopefully you all can stick around, as I want to talk about other people who've told me a little bit about stuff that's happened to them, as well as just some other experiences I've had. Don't go anywhere. You're listening to GhostBox Radio on AM 950. Greg Bakun here. 'Tis the season. Instead of cramming into the family car to hunt for holiday lights, let Minneapolis Trolley Tours do the driving. Join us for the enchanting Merry and Bright Christmas Light Tour, where we glide through a winter wonderland filled with twinkling lights, festive decor, and plenty of holiday cheer. This uplifting experience wraps you into the holiday magic from the comfort of a cozy, festively decorated, climate-controlled trolley. You'll enjoy dazzling light displays, scenic routes only our trolleys can access, and live narration, never pre-recorded, that brings the sights to life. There are multiple photo stops perfect for holiday cards and memory making with the family and friends. Before or after the tour, browse the holiday market inside the historic Pillsbury Club, featuring handcrafted gifts, artisan goods, and locally made treasures. The perfect place to find something special for everyone on your list. Tours depart from the Pillsbury Club. Visit MinneapolisTrolleyTours.com for tickets. Have you ever met someone who not only can help you on a deep spiritual level, but also potentially change your life? Refined Divine is an extremely gifted psychic medium who travels the nation and lives right here in the Midwest. And she offers mediumship, mentorship, house and business parties, energy healing, palm readings, and so much more. Refined Divine has helped thousands, and she can help you.
Hi, this is Psychic Medium Deb. I cannot wait to hear from you. You can go to refineddivinepsychic.com.
Greg Bakun here. I've told you about the out-of-the-world roast beef sandwiches at Maverick's Real Roast Beef, but I haven't told you about their Philly steak sandwiches, turkey, bacon, avocado sandwich, BLT, crispy chicken, fish sandwiches, brisket, or pulled pork. Okay, you get the idea. They make a lot of delicious food to the same standard as their famous roast beef sandwiches, and now I'm starving. I'm going to go to Maverick's Real Roast Beef off Lexington and Roseville, and you need to go too. Check out their menu at mavericksbeef.com. Greg Bakun here. It's nice to get out of the Twin Cities and take some travel excursion to some great locations. Minnesota has so much to offer, which is why I love traveling down to Wabasha and staying at the historic Anderson House Hotel. Opened in 1856, this beautiful hotel offers comfortable accommodations, has a delicious restaurant, and even a speakeasy in the basement to unwind with a drink. Located next to the Mississippi River and on Main Street, there is a lot of sightseeing and shopping to do too. To get more information, go to theandersonhousehotel.com. So how many of you are impressed that nearly after 2 years, I finally have a new Minneapolis trolley tourist spot? It's taken a long time, and I just find it funny that finally we got something going here. And the thing is tis the season, like I say in the spot, because there is a holiday light trolley tour that they're putting on. You can find out more about this over at the minneapolistrolleytours.com. The thing is, okay, like it says in the spot, you can go to, see all these wonderful lights, get in the areas that only the trolley have access to. But there's two things here. There is a naughty tour and a naughty ride and a nice ride. All right. And I'm not kidding when I say this. There is a BYOB holiday light trolley tour that you can do. You can do the nice one, bring the family, or you can bring the naughty one. And I don't think that I don't think they mean naughty as, what some people could mean naughty, but the way that they describe the naughty tour is basically that this is Minneapolis' most unhinged adults only holiday lights adventure, designed for the 21 plus crowd who prefers their Christmas spirits served with actual spirits. We kick things all off at the Pillsbury Club, where you'll pregame, holiday shop, and get in the Christmas spirit. No kiddos, no carol singing families, no matching pajama photo ops, just you, your crew, and a room full of grown adults who are ready to be merry in all the right/wrong ways. I'm in. I want to go. Who wants to go with me? This sounds absolutely incredible. I'm in. Let's do it. So once again, go to minneapolistrolleytours.com. There's some dates left for that, but it does fill up, it looks like. But, I love the family stuff, even though I don't have a family. But I love the concept of it. And it's, it's fun to see kids excited about Christmas. It's also fun to see me lit up as well. I'm not going to lie. So, I think, once again, I think that would be really good to be able to do. I am not 100% sure I'm actually on the air at the moment. I know I'm on Facebook, but my connection with the station has severed, and I've tried many times now to bring it back. So if you can hear me over the air, that's awesome. If not, well, then you're not hearing any of this. And that's just kind of how it goes with live radio. We are talking about being visited by spirits of our loved ones. And Bruce in the comments, he has a couple comments. One is, at the end of life, many can be reduced to a single small box. What a bummer. What you're a bummer tonight, Bruce. I'm just going to be honest here. But it's true, though. It's true. I get it. But Bruce then follows up with, when my dad died in 2010, I was by his side. I was holding his hand. The moment he took his last breath, I felt a charge pass through my hand. I'm certain that this was his soul leaving his body and passed through my hand. That's incredible, Bruce. Thank you for sharing such an intimate story with us. That is beautiful. That's very beautiful. I want to share one that I see, John's in the comments here in the second. He's listening. And John and Chris had lost their son, also a friend of mine, Brian, a few years back. And, it's tough, really tough. And the one thing I will never forget, he has reached out, Brian has, a number of times to a lot of people. It's just incredible. And I remember being at his funeral, not in the front, but more in the back. And there's a bit where people are, have their heads bowed, because it's a part of the service where the priest is like, it is time for the I'm paraphrasing, of course. It's time for the spirit to separate from the body, something like that. And I'm just looking forward. I'm just staying. I'm just looking at the altar and the casket when he says that. And as he says that, a wisp of mist comes out of the casket and floats away. I mean, I'm not making this up. And I couldn't believe what I was seeing. And I don't know if anyone else had seen it, because I was just, I mean, in you know, when we're in the middle of a service, you know, you just can't go like, oh my God, you know, you just kind of are like, all right, I can't believe this. And so afterwards, because I went out there with Shar, who you may know from such radio programs as, well, this one, and I just said to her, you know, you'll never guess what I saw. And I started talking about it, and she cuts me off. She's like, I saw it too. And we were at Tanucci's, where the service luncheon was at. Great food, by the way. And we're talking about this, and you know, we're both paranormal investigators, mediums, gifted. Just, you know, it's cool, but it's not like strange things to us to talk about. This is, you know, what we do. You know, obviously I do a radio show about it. We're just kind of, I'm sorry, I mean this in the best possible way. We're geeking out over this because I just couldn't believe it. It's so beautiful. So many different things. And I look over, because I forgot that we're sharing a table with a lot of other people. And suddenly I'm just like, I just look and I see Chris's sister just staring at me. And I don't mean to laugh, because listen, this is not probably appropriate funeral conversation, but it was amazing. And the wrong people might think that I'm making light of a situation here, and I'm not, because this is absolutely beautiful. So we're just, and afterward, just kind of laughing, because the look on her face was just like, what on earth are you two talking about? And it was just like, yeah, no, this was it. This was incredible. And now Brian is somebody who has really done a very good job of mastering the afterlife. There's only one other person, I'm going to say, that has done so, in my opinion, that I have seen over the, you know, my paranormal journey. And we'll talk about Linus in the third segment here. But Brian has come through multiple times for me on Spirit Box. He comes through to the family on a regular basis. One of the more interesting things was because I'll occasionally go out and spend some time with John and Chris, and generally spend the night, because we tend to have some drinks, and you know, I'm not going to be driving out there, you know, but coming back home or not. When we're up all night anyway, having a really nice time, and went to bed in one of the spare rooms, and it was in the summer, if I'm not mistaken. And the door from my room was open just a little bit, because sometimes some of their, you know, one of their cats will come in and jump up and, you know, just want to lay around. So, you know, I'm a cat person. And it was, I don't remember the exact time, 5:43, 5:46, something like that. The door, which is only like open maybe 2 inches, 3 inches, it doesn't shut by itself. It slams by itself. It slams. And now there is a window open in the room. You know, that there is a cross, but come on. It's not open to slam and wake everybody up. And the time that happened was was the same time that Brian had passed. I mean, it wasn't like the time he, you know, it's the same like time. It's not that time. Okay. And it was incredible. And it just seems like he's always interested in making sure that his family and his friends know that he is uh around, that he's with people. He's come through the spirit box many times. John, if you don't mind me saying so, so is your brother. There it's a very gifted family, for sure. And that's, it's wonderful and frustrating at the same time. And I'll just leave it at that. But and I remember, like, when my mom had passed, which, this was, well, no, I'm sorry, let me take it back. My dad had passed, not my mom, my dad. And a good friend of mine, Roger, he was in at the luncheon for the funeral, and we're just talking about stuff, and he's just like, because his mom had passed, I don't know, 3-4 years before, and he's like, I had a dream that she called me on the telephone, and we were just chatting about what was going on in my life and talking about my little girl, and just like a conversation, like catching up. And I thought to myself, boy, that, I said, do you think that was a dream? And I've never known him to really think about paranormal or spirit interaction or anything like that. And he just looks at me and he goes, no, I don't think that was a dream. I think I was talking to her. And the idea of how the construct of this dream comes up, of her calling him on the phone to do this. It's like, what's the purpose of the phone? Is that for him, so it's easier and more digestible for him? Or is it because that's something that she was used to, and that's how she would have done some kind of catching up? Because it works a lot of different ways. And I've always thought that's just very interesting how that works, how that one in particular worked. I've had a number of dreams about my dad, and it's truly, there's just a lot of very, it doesn't have to be fantastical, all it needs to be is there and be real. And that has stuck with me for so long, that he got that dream that way. I just absolutely, I just love it, because it's so wonderful, and it's so normal, isn't it? And that's the thing about it. It's everything being sort of a normal, like just picking up where you left off. And I don't think that's I don't think that's bad. I don't think that's a bad thing. So, yeah, that was something I've always thought about. That has come through in my mind so many times about his dream. And, I've talked many times about my father, and very interesting dream last week, which, well, let's talk about a different dream first, because I was I wanted to talk about, I talked about this actually on Friday, but I want to also talk about it here as well, since it's it's appropriate, I think. We've talked about Jody Huisentruit, the anchor in Mason City that disappeared 30 years ago in July. No leads whatsoever, nothing. No, it's not, I mean, unsolved is a generous term for it, because it's just no leads. It's just the only thing that we know really is that Jody was, she disappeared that night. And so I mentioned on Friday, because there was some, not really new news, but there was some movement on the case, I guess. And I had mentioned to everybody, that there's this documentary on Hulu about this disappearance, and that one of the people interviewed had been a lifelong friend of Jody's, this other female, and talking about growing up with her and, how close of friends they were. And then she had talked about recently she had a dream where she's sitting on a stage and Jody comes out and sits next to her and just says, I just want to let you know I'm okay. And that I am, that things are fine. Don't worry about me. And this woman, she's saying in the interview, she's like, I don't think that's a dream. And I'm going to be honest, I would be very much in agreement with her. I don't think that's a dream either. It's beautiful. And as I said on Friday, I'm going to say it again. I'm sure some people are like, well, why didn't she say, like who did this to her? And, maybe it's weird to think, but maybe that doesn't matter to her because it's gone, it's done. And all she wants to do is let her loved ones know that don't worry about me. I'm okay. Adam brought up a really good point. Adam said that he's like, well, maybe she didn't even know either. And I don't know. Who can say, right? Who can say? But that's the thing that I think is very interesting about this is that we don't know how much energy that sort of thing takes. That coming into somebody's dream and delivering a message, right? Who knows what kind of energy that takes. But the thing is, it's like, that's why I think too, she's not going to talk about who did it. It's not about that. It's about friendship and about letting her best friend, it was her best friend, know, please don't worry about me. A lot of time has passed, but don't worry about me. What I always say, if you are interested in knowing more about that case and that disappearance, go to findjody.com. It's incredible, and it's also very, very sad. But if we do take this at face value and look at it as it really is her coming through to her friend, that she's able to, I'm not going to say see the positive because that doesn't quite make sense either, but be able to just kind of rise above and evolve and just be, I'm okay. You know what? I'm okay. And like I said at the beginning of the show, that's the number one thing that people always come and talk to me about. They come and talk to me about, is my friend okay? Is my loved ones okay? That's the question. It's never about what's going to happen to me when I die. They don't care about that, at least in my experience. It's always about, is my mom okay? Stuff like that. I want to take another break here. When we come back, I want to talk about, and I know we talk about this quite a bit, so please keep letting me do this. I want to talk about Linus. I had another dream with him, some more interactions, plus my dad. Put whatever you want in the comments as well. You're listening to GhostBox Radio on AM 950. Greg Bakun here. 'Tis the season. Instead of cramming into the family car to hunt for holiday lights, let Minneapolis Trolley Tours do the driving. Join us for the enchanting Merry and Bright Christmas Light Tour, where we glide through a winter wonderland filled with twinkling lights, festive decor, and plenty of holiday cheer. This uplifting experience wraps you into the holiday magic from the comfort of a cozy, festively decorated, climate-controlled trolley. You'll enjoy dazzling light displays, scenic routes only our trolleys can access, and live narration, never pre-recorded, that brings the sights to life. There are multiple photo stops perfect for holiday cards and memory making with the family and friends. Before or after the tour, browse the holiday market inside the historic Pillsbury Club, featuring handcrafted gifts, artisan goods, and locally made treasures. The perfect place to find something special for everyone on your list. Tours depart from the Pillsbury Club. Visit MinneapolisTrolleyTours.com for tickets. Have you ever met someone who not only can help you on a deep spiritual level, but also potentially change your life? Refined Divine is an extremely gifted psychic medium who travels the nation and lives right here in the Midwest. And she offers mediumship, mentorship, house and business parties, energy healing, palm readings, and so much more. Refined Divine has helped thousands, and she can help you.
Hi, this is Psychic Medium Deb. I cannot wait to hear from you. You can go to refineddivinepsychic.com.
Greg Bakun here. I've told you about the out-of-the-world roast beef sandwiches at Maverick's Real Roast Beef, but I haven't told you about their Philly steak sandwiches, turkey bacon avocado sandwich, BLT, crispy chicken, fish sandwiches, brisket, or pulled pork. Okay, you get the idea. They make a lot of delicious food to the same standard as their famous roast beef sandwiches, and now I'm starving. I'm going to go to Maverick's Real Roast Beef off Lexington and Roseville, and you need to go too. Check out their menu at mavericksbeef.com. Greg Bakun here. It's nice to get out of the Twin Cities and take some travel excursion to some great locations. Minnesota has so much to offer, which is why I love traveling down to Wabasha and staying at the historic Anderson House Hotel. Opened in 1856, this beautiful hotel offers comfortable accommodations, has a delicious restaurant, and even a speakeasy in the basement to unwind with a drink. Located next to the Mississippi River and on Main Street, there is a lot of sightseeing and shopping to do too. To get more information, go to theandersonhousehotel.com. And join me tomorrow on GhostBox Radio with Greg Bakun. It is our final episode of the week. We will be running some replays on Thanksgiving and on Friday, but we're going to call tomorrow Casual Wednesday. We're going to have Adam in. We're going to be talking about whatever we want. You're more than welcome to call in, put in the comments what you want. But the thing I want to focus on, I'm going to ask you all, if you're going to be joining us tomorrow, I'd love to know what you're thankful for. I'm going to talk about what I'm thankful for. You know, as we get into this weekend, just really want to talk about that, because I think sometimes, and I'm speaking for myself, I'm not speaking for you, you know, I kind of take things for granted on occasion, and I'd like to make sure that that is not, you know, that I'm able to remind myself and universe actually how wonderful things are. We are talking about spirit communication from our loved ones coming and talk to us. Amber in the comments says, when we're talking about Jody Husentrut, thank you for that info. I was neighbors with Jody's aunt at the time of her disappearance. It's absolutely incredible. You know, it truly is. It's it must have been horrible. And, you know, I remember back in the day thinking, you know, is it just going to be, hate to say it, one way or the other, we're going to find out what's going on with her. Never in my wildest imagination that we would be in a situation that 30 years have come by. And she started off her career and she was over in Mason City at the same time I started off my career over at KUIC in Mankato, which incidentally, she went to school in Mankato, and she had been around different places and whatnot. Really, yeah, very, very interesting stuff for sure. Bruce says, imagine being able to leave the pain and torment of this life behind, and all that's left is the love of and for friends and family that will follow you someday. Very well said. I mean, it's very true. It's very true. I wanted to kind of share also, if I may, and you know, I hope that some folks out there aren't like, oh my God, he's going to talk about his cat again. Honestly, I am constantly shocked by this animal. Okay, so a couple things going on around here. Last week I had this dream. And I was in my parents' backyard, and I grew up in St. Anthony Village. They had it was a good house, and my dad built a deck in the back and another deck that had a above ground pool on it and stuff. And it was very nice. I have very fond memories of it. And I had a dream that I was back there, but it was the same place, but very different. It was vibrant, so vibrant. And a lot of lush greenery all around. It still had the deck, but it's so much there. And it is a feeling of love, an absolute feeling of tranquility and love. It was absolutely incredible. And I loved it. And I went to a spot that was very familiar to me on the deck. and there was my dad, and he was just like he was there. He looked great, vibrant, so full of life. And my dad, by the time he passed, that wasn't the case. So to see him this way was incredible. And he just looks at me and he says, and this is probably too much information for you all. He's like, "Why aren't you with somebody?" And which has been just something going on with me. I just to say, about 4 years ago, a relationship that I was really into ended quickly and tragically, quite frankly, in a sense. And it's been hard for me ever since. And to find a relationship. And so and this isn't the first time he said this to me. I mean, he said this to me while he was living as well. "Why aren't you with somebody?" And I try to explain, and I'm whisked away. And I'm whisked away because there's somebody else who wants my attention. And I go over, and now I'm in a different place altogether. And out of this other area, of course, is Linus. And Linus is not alone. Linus has a golden retriever and another dog that is black and white, black spots, with him. I don't know who they are, but I have a sense of one of them, and I won't put out names because it's his private stuff, but a friend of mine had lost fairly recently. Their golden retriever had passed away. It's very devastating, as you can imagine. So I reach out to this person, and I'm just like, "This is what I dreamt, and I think this is who it is." And she's just like, "I think you're right. My God." She goes, "What's this other dog look like?" And I describe this animal, and she's just like, "That was my other dog I lost." Now, I've been talking with her about the golden retriever for a few months, off and on. And, just like I had when I lost Linus and my other cats, someone to talk to just kind of talk through this crappiness of losing a loved one, like that. And so I think literally Linus wanted to show me they are okay. This animal who seems to have mastered the afterlife better than anyone, I mean, maybe apart from Brian, quite frankly, maybe better than just about anybody, there he is. And, we talked about this Friday. I'm going to talk about that again, but also talking about this on just a few weeks back. Shar got a voicemail from a phone number that she was not familiar with, and there was nothing on there. But all of a sudden there's a meow. And then they hang up. There's nothing, then a meow, and then hangs up. And she's like, is that Linus? And I'm like, I don't know. I mean, I'd love to just be able to shoehorn this in and be like, that's Linus leaving you a voicemail message, but I don't know. But then if you listen Friday and you listen to Adam talking about a spirit box session that he had at the station, he asked the question, he said, in the spirit box session, "Do you have a message for Greg or for me?" And the response was a meow. Now, I understand. I could appreciate that there are people who are just like, "Oh my God, are you kidding me? Is this really what we're talking about these days?" And yes, it is, as it happens, because I fully believe, and this, along with so many other things that Linus has been seen and communicated with by other people This is absolutely 100% to me, no doubt in my mind that this is Linus once again. And long may it continue that this little guy is, constantly making sure that I am aware that he's around. And I'm going to be honest, that is what I asked for. When he was dying, I asked him, don't leave me. And when people are like, well, I'm going to be so sad when so-and-so, I say to them, tell them what you want. You might be surprised with what you are going to get, because a couple things. I said to Linus, I do not want to have to bring you in to put you down. And that is what happened. And I mean, you can find a lot of other things to say that makes that possible. But, he did that. And then from there, I asked him, please visit me. Please visit me. And he is not the first. I mean, I've had Dave, which I rarely talk about, but Dave was the first of my ragdolls, Linus being the second. And I said, please, Dave, I didn't even, I wasn't hardly into this stuff when I had to put Dave down. But I remember about a week after I did so, I'm in the kitchen and I turn around and there he is. And then he's gone. And then there's this weird sort of like scent, it's just this weird scent, it's so strange. And then I remember my other cat at the time, AJ, and there was one day, and I took a picture of it, but phones have changed and pictures disappear and whatnot. She was the closest I could describe it, like in what the religious term of ecstasy is, where you're just almost trance-like. And she is staring at something moving around and her head's moving. And anyone who's with a cat knows that when they are staring at something, and if it's like a bug or something, they would their pupils will get super big. If a cat could smile, she was smiling. This is after Dave died. I don't know if it's Dave or someone else. And she's just following along her head. She's just standing there and moving her head, looking at it. And this went on and on and on. And I thought it was beautiful, but I don't know what it was that she was looking at. I really don't know, but my gosh, how incredible. Just an absolutely beautiful moment. And like I said, I firmly believe this is not the case of like some sort of like fly or something like that. There was something there that she was just absolutely in awe of, that she was absolutely enjoying. Going over to the comments, a couple things. Well, first, Bruce says Linus brought them to you to share with their own that they are okay. Absolutely. Very cool. Yep, absolutely. Beth says, one of my deceased cats used to walk around on my bed at night. I get that too. I actually got one tonight on my chair that I was working on earlier, where it makes you kind of look, and I'm sure you're the same way, Beth. You're just like, what was that? I mean, it just feels too real to dismiss. So once again, I'm going to start Beth's comment from the start. One of my deceased cats used to walk around on my bed at night. I'd like to think that one of my other cats had jumped up on the bed, but they weren't there. Yeah, I don't know. It's pretty cool. It's incredible. And you get people like psychic medium Rob Guttrow, who is he's all about being a medium to pets. You have Deb, who channels animals, which when we get her back on, we're talking about hopefully that she would maybe devote a whole episode to that. Maybe we devote a whole evening to that. It's too incredible. And, I've told the story a number of times, had Rob on the show talking about how Linus interrupted his vacation, which is very Linus-like, to write me a letter and to write to me about things that are going to happen to me. Not like big things, but that had to do with him sticking around. One of them being, don't get mad at me when your equipment goes down, because basically this is what I do, not on purpose. And the next night, everything went down, on the show. Everything went down. So, I mean, this was, and there's others as well. It was pretty incredible stuff. Bruce says, maybe AJ can now come to you and explain what they experienced that day. Maybe I should ask. That's a good point. I mean, it was very interesting. And we all know what an animal looks like when they're actually tracking something else. And yeah, it's pretty cool. I hope you all enjoyed this. And thank you to those of you who shared your personal stories. And thank you to John for allowing me to share my story about Brian, because it's just, it's very personal. And I don't take that for granted. And I appreciate everyone taking time to share their very, very personal stories. And I we can keep doing this down the road. Carrie says, I enjoyed a lot. Thank you. No, thank you very much. And I have a homework assignment for all of you tomorrow. And that is that, make sure you come tomorrow, letting me know what you're thankful for. It doesn't have to be grand. Doesn't have to be big. It could be like, I'm thankful for gravy, as far as I'm concerned. But I'd love to hear what you're grateful for. Everyone, if you're driving out in the Twin Cities tonight, be very careful. Be very careful in the morning. I'm sure it's going to be slippery. I treasure all of you. We'll be back tomorrow. Everyone, have a good night.